Hi everyone, Chris here with Feiyutech's new Pocket 2 camera gimbal. So this can shoot up to 4K 120 frames per second. As you can see, it has this really nice compact size. We have a 1.3-inch IPS screen with this that is a touch screen. It supports micro SD cards, a runtime of up to 220 minutes. So in this in-depth review, I'll be going over the build quality, the design, the application, as well as some sample footage so you know exactly what to expect out of the Pocket 2 here. Inside the Pocket 2 box here, there is a case. I'll show you more of that shortly. We have a quick start guide, some QR codes for their social media, one's for the application, warranty card, a strap, and our Type-C to Type-A USB cable. And this is the case, so it's made out of a tough ABS style plastic. The rubber strap here holds it in place, so the gimbal is nice and safe in this. And there's even a cutout for our Type-C port for easy charging. We can charge it without having to worry about scratching the gimbal or needing to take it out of the case, which is good. So right here we have our directional joystick. This is our record button and stop, or to take a still. Right here is the power button. We have a little speaker. There's a microphone built into this as well. So right down the bottom, there is a thread there so you can put this on a tripod or a selfie stick. Torque screws there. It's made out of metal and quite a nice solid hard frame. So we've got our Type-C port there, status LED for charging. This is our micro SD card slot, so they sit in nice and flush. There's no risk of these popping out, even if you were to place it up against something or you dropped it. It should not come out. And then, of course, our gimbal, 3-axis gimbal with the camera right there, as you can see. So when you power that up, that will automatically spin around into the correct position. Along the back here, nothing. This is made out of metal, another little torque screw. And I'll just turn that on right now. Now, options here that we have with the Pocket 2. So settings, I'll first go into that. You can see that our battery life, the wireless connection, so you can connect this up to the application to operate it remotely. I'll show you that shortly. Anti-flicker settings, so 50 Hz, 60 Hz. Ketone, if you want that or not. Swiping over, we've got more options. You can see the available storage, calibration, metering, the auto power off mode for saving on the battery life there too as well, and more settings. Here's a few other things like resetting it, device info, and whatnot. So just tap the power button will bring me then back, or you can swipe from the side. Different settings we have then is the high quality mode for video bitrate is what I'll be using. The narrow or wide angle for the shot. Okay, this is our field of view. You can change that over to if you wanted to. And I'll just swap over here. Face tracking, you can turn that on or off. The full screen display. Just going through the display modes. Normal mode, pro mode. The brightness of the screen. And that's it there for the settings. Now getting out of that, we can swipe up, go through the different modes we've got. So follow mode. Right here we have recenter. All follow mode. And this is the pan mode right there, which is a little hard to see because of my bright lights on and the screen is quite bright too, which is good. And getting out of that, so just swiping back or tapping the button. If we swipe from the right, we can go then into our settings. So slow motion mode, photo mode, video. I will show you the options we do get here. So 4K 60 is our maximum. You can change here the frame rate just by swiping on the touch screen here. So 50 frames per second, 30, 48, down to 24 frames per second as well. Different resolution options. So there's 1080p. So 1080p here. Frame rate, let's take a look at that. What is it going to go up to? The maximum 120 frames per second with 1080p. So this is the application right here that's called FeiyuCam. Now what you can do with this is connect up to it wirelessly and you can get a preview that's a live preview you can see right now, and I'm able to control the gimbal with this, that I can look around here at my messy studio. And it does it in real time, and you can see there's a little tiny bit of noticeable delay and lag coming through that you would normally get with a wireless connection here with the live preview. You can go and cycle through then all the different modes there. So in time-lapse, dynamic, video capture, you're able to do all that you can on the gimbal, but remotely. You can see the available free time we have, the battery life remaining, and other different settings all possible through here, changing the resolution and whatnot. You can do all of that. So it is handy, this application. You also use it to update the firmware for the gimbal, but the main use would be this for remote use of the camera going through the settings. So you can have it mounted on a tripod somewhere else and control it via the application. It also does allow you to go into the advanced settings and control just a few more other options in here. So watermark, you can put that on there too if you wanted to. The file format, so you can change that over to MP4. For example, if you're a PC user, this is probably the best format to use. The color, white balance, a few other different controls in there you would normally get with camera settings. Format your micro SD card, device information. It's all in there. And you can even see down the bottom here, the free available storage. So it is a handy app to use. So here we are with the gimbal now in follow mode. This is 4K 60 frames per second. And you can see it's very, very smooth here. Now using the joystick, you can pan around. Now I wish there was a setting that we could make this just a little bit slower, because it's basically just an on or off switch to turn it, you can see. And for me that's way too fast. I'd like a real slow pan feature, or we could just tweak it down a little bit with some advanced settings. So that's as far as the gimbal will go on that side, on the right there. And here it is over to the left, which in fact keeps going right around, so I can see myself then. And I'll just bring that back and I'll demonstrate what it's like, the smoothness of it. So this is in the follow mode, so it's going to keep the camera in the same direction no matter really what I'm doing. So I'm going to do a fast-paced jog now. Well, a bit of a run, it's not really a sprint, and you can see quite smooth that footage there. Now with the gimbal, of course, you can point it in all sorts of angles, so I can just have it now pointing to the side and looking at the shops there, restaurant and bars, as I walk along, and quite smooth footage. And really up to you what you want to do with this, and I can just pan around here slowly myself, which is what I would do. Instead of using the joystick to pan, I would simply just manually move it around myself, and you can get those nice smooth pans, as you can see. Doesn't tend to look too bad. With a bit of practice you can get this down and make it really nice and smooth. And it's also useful for taking images of things right now, for example of this little lighthouse. I can keep it centered more or less as I walk around here with the gimbal, getting like a 360 degree view. So these are the handy things you can do with the gimbal, keeping this in the shot here with the follow mode. I have it in the follow mode, and this is in the vlogger's position, so the camera is facing me, and I do have the face tracking on, so it should keep my face in focus now all of the time here. So the good thing about the gimbal is that if you double tap the joystick, that will recenter it. So just tap tap will recenter, and if you do a triple tap, which I just did now, it'll flip it around, so you can go from a vlogger's mode here to straight out looking ahead of you. And I'll triple tap again, and then that brings me back into the shot here, which is rather handy. So just going to power up these stairs. Rapid movements like this, how smooth will it be? And then go down again. 3-axis gimbal with the electronic image stabilization, definitely helping out here. And on to low light performance. So right now, difficult conditions. Where it is bright with the street lights, it doesn't look too bad, but you can see in the dark areas that the little sensor is definitely struggling, and it doesn't look quite as smooth as during daytime. So I'll triple tap now, and that will recenter, and I'll do that again. There we go, to flip it around to look at myself here, and you can see that, yes, for selfie footage in low light, these kind of conditions, struggling. It's not really making me out that good. I'd probably have to go over to the pro mode, or just keep myself in the light. Like right now, you can see me a little bit better, definitely struggling. So I will tap now then 3 times, flip it around, look out ahead, and at least the 3-axis gimbal here is keeping things steady. So I love the compact size of this. I mean, it just fits in the palm of your hand. I mean, look at how small this is. Now, of course, it has the 3-axis gimbal, so no matter how I move my hand at the moment, you can see up or down, it's keeping that camera level, keeping it straight, either side as well. So that is why the stability of it is quite good. Not just a normal camera with electronic image stabilization, which it does have, but also the gimbal there, 3-axis gimbal, helping with those movements, of course. So you can set it up to do time lapses, as I showed you, and moving around. You've got the follow modes and things. You can make quite smooth motions, and the stability of it doesn't look too bad, especially for handheld. Even when I was running, walking along quite quickly, it took away a lot of those shocks and the tremors, giving us quite usable footage there. Now with the 4K 60 frames per second footage, I did notice that the sharpness of it, so the detail tended to be just lacking a little bit, I felt, for 4K. Would like to see a little sharper. But I guess it's down to the limitations of such a small sensor, which is, yes, a 12 megapixel sensor from Sony. So battery life is up to 3.6 hours, so just over 3.5 hours at 1080p. Now for 4K, it drops down to then about 2.5 hours is what I'm calculating and seeing with this, shooting at 4K 60, which is still ample and plenty, I believe, out of this. So that is the Pocket 2 here from Feiyu Tech. Hope you did like this review. Please do like and subscribe if you did. And I'll see you in the next one.